My brother stole everything my father left me. What happens when the person you trust most, your own sibling, betrays you for money? Money is supposed to be just paper, numbers in a bank account. That's what I used to tell myself, anyway. But when my father died, I learned that money can split blood apart faster than any knife. My dad wasn't rich, not by most standards, but he was careful. He worked 35 years as an accountant, saved diligently, and when he passed, he left behind a modest estate, our family home, some investments, and about $200,000 in savings. Enough to secure a future for his children, the legacy of a lifetime of sacrifice. There were only two of us, me and my older brother, David. David had always been the golden child. Charming, confident, the one my parents bragged about at family gatherings. He was the first to get married, the first to buy a house, the one who seemed to have it all figured out. I was quieter, more cautious. I stayed close to home, helped Dad when he got sick, and thought that counted for something. But as it turns out, loyalty doesn't always pay. After Dad's funeral, we met with his lawyer to go over the will. I sat there, clutching tissues, my eyes raw from crying, while David leaned back like he was at a business meeting. The lawyer's voice was calm, professional. Mr. Harris's estate is to be divided equally between his two children, David and Anna. I let out a shaky breath. Equal. That was fair. That was right. But when the paperwork came weeks later, something was wrong. The bank accounts had been drained, nearly all the money gone. I stared at the statement in disbelief. The house had already been signed over. Not to me, not even to both of us jointly, but to David alone. Confused and panicked, I called the lawyer. He sounded just as shocked. That's not what the will says, he insisted. It should have been split evenly. If assets were moved beforehand, it wasn't under my direction. My stomach dropped. I knew exactly what had happened. David. I confronted him that evening. His car was in the driveway of his sprawling suburban home, the house he never could have afforded without help. When he opened the door, he smiled like nothing was wrong. Anna, come in. I didn't step inside. I held up the bank statement, my hands trembling. Where's Dad's money? His smile faltered. What are you talking about? Don't play dumb, David. The accounts are empty. The house is in your name. You drained everything. He sighed, rubbing his temples like I was a nuisance. Look, I had to move quickly. Dad wanted me to handle things. He trusted me. My throat tightened. The will said equal. He wanted us to share everything. David's eyes hardened. Equal? Are you serious? You lived with Dad your whole life. You already got more time with him, more help from him. I've got a family to support, kids in private school, a mortgage. I needed it more than you. The audacity of his words made me dizzy. Needed it? That money wasn't his to take. It was ours. He crossed his arms, his jaw set. Face it, Anna. You wouldn't know what to do with it anyway. I'm the responsible one. I'll make sure it's used wisely. I wanted to scream, to claw the smug look off his face. Instead, I choked on my tears and stumbled back to my car, my entire body shaking. That night, I couldn't sleep. My father's voice haunted me. His promises that he wanted to take care of both of us, that he wanted things to be fair. And here was David, rewriting his legacy into greed. I knew then I had two choices. Let my brother steal everything, or fight for what was mine. And if I chose to fight, I had to be ready. Because blood may run deep, but betrayal runs deeper. Anna decides to fight back, but exposing her brother's betrayal may rip the family apart even further. The next morning, I called the lawyer again. My voice trembled with anger. There has to be something I can do. David drained the accounts and put the house in his name. That's not what Dad wanted. The lawyer sighed. If assets were transferred before probate was finalized, that's a serious issue. But proving misconduct can be complicated. We'd need bank records, signatures, evidence he acted against the will. I'll get whatever you need, I said firmly. After the call, I went straight to Dad's old study. He had kept meticulous records, receipts, statements, tax forms stacked neatly in labeled folders. If David had forged documents or pressured Dad when he was sick, I was determined to find it. Hours passed as I combed through dusty files. Then, finally, I found it. A transfer slip dated 2 weeks before Dad's death. Nearly $150,000 had been moved into an account under David's name. The signature at the bottom claimed to be my father's, but my stomach twisted. It didn't look right. Dad's handwriting had been shaky near the end. Yes, but not like this. The strokes were too clean, Too steady. My hands shook as I took photos of the document. Proof. That evening, I showed up at David's house again. He opened the door, annoyance flickering across his face. What now? He asked. I shoved the photo in front of him. Explain this. Did you forge Dad's signature? His eyes darted to the image for a split second, long enough to confirm the truth. Then he scoffed. You're imagining things. Dad wanted me to handle it. He was too weak to sign, so I helped. My blood boiled. You helped? You stole from him. From me. From his wishes. David's voice sharpened. Drop it, Anna. You'll ruin everything. Do you really want to drag Dad's name through court? Make the whole family watch us tear each other apart. I glared at him, my voice shaking but steady. I don't want this fight, but you left me no choice. The days that followed blurred into legal consultations, affidavits, paperwork. My lawyer filed a petition to challenge the transfer of assets. Every step was exhausting, but I held on to one thing. Dad wanted fairness. Meanwhile, my family began to fracture. My mother's side called me selfish, accusing me of trying to take away from David's kids. Cousins avoided me at gatherings. My aunt told me quietly, he always was the manipulative one, but you'll never beat him. He's too charming. But I wasn't fighting for charm. I was fighting for justice. The real breaking point came when David showed up at my apartment unannounced. He leaned against the doorframe, his smile cold. You think you're clever, going to court, he said. But all you're doing is wasting money. Dad's gone, Anna. Let it go. I clenched my fists. I'm not letting you rewrite his last wishes. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. You don't get it, do you? You'll never win. I have the house, the accounts, the kids everyone pities. You're just the bitter little sister with nothing. For a moment, his words cut deep. But then I remembered Dad's face in the hospital bed, his hand gripping mine as he whispered, I just want things to be fair. And I knew, no matter what it cost, I couldn't let David win. Weeks later, the court hearing began. I sat at the wooden bench, my heart hammering as David swaggered in with his attorney. He wore his best suit, his confident smile plastered on like armor. The judge called us to order. My lawyer presented the evidence, the suspicious transfer slip, the mismatched signatures, the timeline that didn't add up. David's attorney argued fiercely, painting him as a dutiful son who had simply taken initiative to manage the estate. But when the handwriting expert testified, my pulse quickened. She held up both documents, the genuine signature from Dad's medical forms and the transfer slip. These signatures, she said, were not written by the same hand. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. David's face turned pale. That night, I couldn't sleep. Victory felt close, but the weight of betrayal pressed heavy. How had it come to this? Siblings turned enemies, dragged into court over the legacy of a man who had loved us both. And yet, I knew the fight wasn't over. Because David wasn't just greedy, he was ruthless. And if the judge ruled against him, I feared what he might do next. The handwriting expert exposes David's forgery in court, but his reaction hints that he isn't done fighting. David's face was a mask of fury as the handwriting expert stepped down from the witness stand. His lawyer whispered frantically in his ear, but David's jaw tightened, his knuckles white against the table. The judge called a recess. I stepped into the hallway, my pulse still racing. My lawyer leaned in close. This is strong evidence, Anna. If the judge accepts the forgery, the transfers will be reversed. But be ready. Your brother may try something desperate. I didn't have to wait long. David cornered me outside the restroom, his eyes blazing. Do you realize what you've done? He hissed. You're going to ruin me. My reputation, my family, everything. You ruined yourself, I said quietly. You chose greed. He slammed his fist against the wall inches from my head. I flinched but held my ground. You think you've won, he growled. But even if you take the money, you'll never get the family back. Mom's side hates you already. Everyone will remember you as the one who dragged her brother through court. His words stung, but I forced myself to meet his eyes. I'd rather be hated for telling the truth than loved for living a lie. He glared at me for a long moment, then stormed away. When court resumed, David tried to spin his story. He claimed Dad had asked him to handle the money discreetly, that the transfer was for safekeeping. But the judge wasn't convinced. After days of testimony, the ruling finally came. The forged transfers were invalid. The estate would be divided equally, as the will had intended. Relief washed over me, but it was bittersweet. I had won the case, yes, but I had lost my brother. David refused to look at me as we left the courtroom. His wife glared, clutching their children's hands as though I were a stranger. I wanted to reach out, to say that I hadn't wanted it to come to this. But the wall between us was too high, too thick. In the weeks that followed, the inheritance was settled. I received my share, half the savings, half the house proceeds. It should have felt like justice, but all I felt was hollow. I walked through the old family home one last time before it was sold. The walls echoed with memories. Dad teaching me how to ride a bike in the driveway. Mom baking cookies in the kitchen, late nights of board games at the dining table. And yet, those walls had also become battlegrounds, stained by betrayal. Standing in the empty living room, I whispered to the air, "I did it, Dad. I kept it fair." But there was no answer. Only silence. Months passed. I tried to move on, investing part of the money in a small condo, using the rest to pay off debts. Life stabilized, but the wound of losing David lingered. Then one day, I received a letter. The handwriting was familiar, David's. I opened it with trembling hands. "Anna, I don't expect forgiveness. What I did was wrong. I was drowning in debt, desperate, and I told myself I deserved more because I had a family to provide for. That was selfish. I let my greed destroy our relationship. I know you'll never trust me again, but I want you to know. I'm sorry. For everything. David." Tears blurred my vision. It wasn't reconciliation, not yet, but it was a crack in the wall, a sign that maybe one day, the wound could scar instead of bleed. I still think about inheritance often, not just money, but the legacies we carry. My father left us more than accounts and property. He left us values, honesty, fairness, love. David lost sight of those, but I try to hold on to them. Because in the end, money can vanish, houses can crumble, but the true inheritance is the kind of person you choose to be when no one is watching. And I choose to be the daughter my father would be proud of. High voltage ending note. The inheritance battle ended in Anna's favor, but the real cost was family ties. Money divided them, but truth, slowly, might heal what greed had broken.